What's up, guys? Undad here. Wanted to put together a short video guide for playing Frost DK here in the 8.0 pre-patch. Gonna try to keep this short and sweet, not go into too much detail, but kind of give you a general gist of how to play the class now. First of all, what's changed? What's changed since Monday? We lost our artifact weapon, obviously. Biggest deals there's a lot of passive stuff in here that is just like damage that you're not going to notice. The biggest things to remember here is that Rune Frost is gone, so we're going to trigger Runic Empowerment less often. They also nerfed the rate of that slightly, so you're just going to have less runes. We lose Overpowered, so Obliterate's not going to generate that extra runic power. You're going to have less resources. And we lose 12% attack speed. So it's less killing machine procs because you're attacking less fast. So generally the spec is just a little slower now. It's not necessarily worse. I think it's actually really good as far as tuning goes compared to other classes right now. But it plays slower. And some talents got shifted around. So honestly, I'm not even going to pull up what was here. We're just going to talk about what's good now. So on this first tier, you kind of have two options, but Cold Heart's definitely the go-to. I could see Icy Talons getting a little bit of value in keys. But Raiding Environment, Cold Heart's definitely the go-to, especially considering Chest is our best legendary right now. Cold Heart is an insane amount of damage from both the legendary and this. They stack. It only uses one global cooldown on Chains of Ice to get the damage from both out. So it's just worth taking. You're going to be casting that Chains anyway, so you might as well get some bonus damage out from it. So I think it's still going to be the play in keys. It's definitely the play for Raid. The other two just aren't good enough. On this row, I'm running something a little different than you'll see a lot of people. Right now, Murderous Efficiency seems to sim the highest. It's slightly higher than Runic Attenuation for me, but I play with a lot of Feelycraft. I don't really... I sim. I do a lot of time simming, but then I play test stuff, and Runic Attenuation feels like it's better. It's just so much of our damage is packed into Breath of Sindragosa now. We don't attack as fast. We have far less killing machine procs to begin with, so you get less benefit from this, it feels like. And Runic Attenuation can really help you get an extra tick or two out of your breath, which is a huge deal now. Horn of Winter is just not good enough. If it lined up better and was a little bit more impactful, maybe. But right now, it's just not good enough. This row, take whatever you want. Keys, I imagine. Blinding Sleet's going to be good. Death's Reach could see some use too, and Asphyxia as well, depending on what content you're doing. Level 60 row, Avalanche are definitely not taking. In Mythic Plus, I would definitely take Frost Scythe. Even on a lot of bosses in Antorus, anything that has some cleave, I would take Frost Scythe. I'm even simming higher single target with Frost Scythe. I just don't feel that it has as much impact as I'd like it to for a talent, whereas Frozen Pulse is kind of just fire and forget, and it gets me some extra damage. So I'm running Frozen Pulse. You'll see a lot of people running Frost Scythe. They're very close. And I think as soon as a second target is introduced, Frost Scythe's more consistent. This row, take whatever you want. I'm kind of defaulting to Death Pack and Raids. Gives us a personal heal back now. Wraithwalk for movement, Permafrost for just consistent sustain, but it's not very strong anymore. I probably wouldn't take Permafrost. On this row, in a raid environment, you can run Gathering Storm or you can run Frost Rune's Fury. Frost Rune's Fury is our artifact ability that we lost. Our big Sindragosa, we lost that, but you can talent into it as a shorter cooldown now. Still really strong. You still want to stack it with other buffs like we did before. You want to be in pillar, and you want to be in pillar and have a Fallen Crusader proc when you use it, or now use it at the end of pillar, because pillar is a little bit different now, which I'm going to go into when we talk about rotation. Gathering Storm, same old. It's good. It's just solid single target damage. Gathering Storm is almost worth the rune without, or Remorseless Winter is almost worth the rune without Gathering Storm single target. Gathering Storm, even if you get to 2 or 3 stacks, it's worth the rune. And then finally, we're playing Breath again. I'm so happy. The spec is a blast. I know a lot of people hate Breath. They stress out over it. But I look at Breath as an opportunity to get better, right? There's not really much room to improve when you're playing Obliteration or Ice Cap. It's just like, all right, I do my fucking rotation and we're done. Whereas Breath, it's, if your breath dropped too early, okay, what did I do wrong? How can I fix this? How can I extend my breath further? How can I make my breath more impactful? Things like that. So I'm really happy it's back. And it does a ton of damage. It's huge. So changes to note as we talk about rotation and legendaries here. Pillar of Frost is a little bit different. It's still 15% strength, but there's a crucial addition that each rune you spend while Pillar Frost is active increases the strength bonus by an additional 1%. So at the end of your Pillar Frost is stronger. At the beginning, it's just that flat 15%. And secondly, Empowered Rube Weapon has been changed. It's a 2-minute cooldown now, so it lines up with breath every time, and you're going to be using it with breath every time. That's important. But it's more of a DPS cooldown now than it is a resource cooldown. Previously, this was instant cast. It filled up all your runes and gave you, I want to say 40 runic power. I don't even know what the exact number was. Now it is 15% haste, and then generates 1 runic power, or 1 rune and 5 runic power instantly, and then every 5 seconds again. So basically, it's worth 5 runes and 25 runic power. It's not huge on resource generation. The 15% haste is big too, or is big, especially during breath. But it's not like the old Hungering Rune Weapon, right? You remember Hungering Rune Weapon back in Nighthold? We ran Seal of Necrophantasia, so we had 2 of them, and you couldn't run out of resource as well as active. This is far less impactful, so breath lasts far less long, breath's not as long, but breath is more impactful because of that. So that's very cool to me. Let's see. Are there any other big changes that have been made as far as spells go? No, that's not it. Those are things you want to think about. So let's talk about just the legendaries that we're wearing right now. For single target, it's definitely chest. Chest is insanely tuned right now. It does so much damage. And bracers to help with breath do more damage. So much of your damage is breath. It almost feels like you play the game for 30 seconds, you do a shitload of damage, and then you kind of just dick around for a minute and a half until you can breath again, which some people may not like. I personally really enjoy it. And secondly, the 4-piece is not as good as it once was. Shattering Strikes is gone. Shattering Strikes gained some value from the 4-piece because we could rip Razor Ice stacks off with Frost Strike more often. It also just benefited a lot from mastery and damage bonuses that we had on our artifact weapon that we no longer do. So I would sim to check out your character. Use raidbots.com and the Simulation Craft add-on to just get your sim string. Copy this into raidbots and see what it says. I have my tier pieces in shoulders and what did I swap out? Legs. Yeah, shoulders and legs are 240, which would have been 960 previously. And I have off pieces that are 260. So gaining 20 item levels in each slot is a bigger DPS increase for me than the 4-piece. And with more targets, the 4-piece gets a little bit more valuable, but so do stats. So I'm going to be running 2-piece, put it simply. I won't be running 4-piece. And trinkets, most of the same trinkets are good with the exception of Seeping Scourgewing being insanely strong right now. I don't have a high enough item level 1 to use. And also the Fabricator, or Forge Fiend's Fabricator off of Kingaroth, Mind's Trinket, is very strong now too. So maybe that's worth checking out for you. Otherwise, the old tried and true Hiding Command, Eye Command, Shadow Singe, Fang, those are all perfect go-tos. As far as stats go, before we jump into rotation, Haste is significantly devalued. Haste used to be our best stat for fucking ever. You'd get up to like 30% haste before it would start to drop as your best stat. But because so much of our damage comes within the breath window, that also means so much of our damage comes while Empowered Rune Weapon is still up. So you have that extra 15% haste, so haste is not as valuable. Mastery was shifted, so that's a little bit stronger point for point now. We start with a higher base mastery. It scales faster, so each point of mastery you gain is worth a bigger DPS increase than you used to. For most people's purposes, mastery is your top stat. Crit is very close. For me personally, crit is my best stat. I think that has a lot to do with not using 2-piece. 2-piece will increase the value of mastery, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, haste is probably your worst stat now. If you have at least 15% haste, I would be surprised if haste is better than any other stat. There's pretty much mastery and crit are close, versus a little bit worse, and haste is a little bit worse than that. So, rotation. How do you play the class? Now, if you played breath back in Nighthold, you'll kind of know what you're doing already. You just have to adjust to the differences in resources now, because you have less. It's harder to hold breath. A good breath right now is about 25 seconds. If you get a 25-second breath, you're pumping. Back then, we were holding breath for like a minute. So, for anybody who's new and hasn't played breath before, breath is a huge burst cooldown that consistently drains your runic power over the duration of it. And when you run out of runic power, the breath ends. It plays, I guess, similarly to Void Form for Shadow Priests, where you pop into Void Form, you have Insanity, it's ticking down, you try to keep it up, and when it's over, it's over. So with that, our opener is a lot different than I think a lot of people are anticipating, or a lot different from what people are used to, especially with Obliteration, where you're just blasting instantly, you're popping Pillar on Pull, let's go. Oftentimes, it's going to be about 10 seconds into the fight before you even really pop your cooldowns. And that's okay. Like, you're still going to last all of Lust. You wait 10 seconds, you figure you got 30 seconds left on Lust, you get a 25-second breath. You didn't miss out on anything. So, essentially, how you're opening, you're going to open up on the boss. You put your Frost Fever up. Your Remorseless Winter. You smack your Obliterate. If you get a Rhyme proc, you chill. And you want to get up to 70 runic power with Obliterates. Wait for 3 runes, empowered rune weapon before, and then pop Breath and Pillar. And now you're in Pillar. And all you're doing inside Breath is spending runes to keep your breath up. That's it. That's it. All you're doing is keeping your breath up. You don't want to overcap runic power, so if you get lucky procs, then you can just spam Obliterates. And what's it called? Sorry, let me hold this last. Let's see how long we can go. Alright, 23 seconds without less. That's pretty good. I made some mistakes in there while I was talking, but essentially, you're just balancing your meter. You want to pool the 70 runic power. 3 runes is a good thing to kind of, alright, this is my go-to. You don't want to waste the global cooldown changes make this a little finicky too. You want to pop empowered rune weapon, the global before you pop breath, so you don't have to waste one inside on hitting this. And then breath is luckily enough off the global cooldown, so you can just make a macro that when you hit breath, Pillar is popped as well, or you can just hit both buttons. You pop them and you go. I've seen people asking, do I use rhyme procs within breath? And yes, you use rhyme procs. It's kind of a judgment call. There's no way for me to give you like this is exactly when you use rhyme. But if you can sneak it in between Obliterates without dropping breath, it's a damage increase. It's worth doing. It's also free extension of your Remorseless Winter that doesn't actually cost rune, but counts as using a rune. So you want to be using that. Something I didn't go over and I didn't do in here. I didn't show you the proper usage of Cold Heart. So we talked about earlier how Pillar of Frost increases in strength the further into Pillar of Frost you get. The more runes you spend inside Pillar of Frost, the stronger it is at the end. It lines up pretty well with Change. Change is going to be back up to a full 20 stack every 40 seconds. Pillar is going to be up every 45 seconds. So the most basic way to use Chains is the last global cooldown in your Pillar. You have 1 second, 2 seconds left on your Pillar duration. Hit Chains of Ice. That's it. And we'll see here. I'll show you how much damage this does. It's gigantic. Oh, it would help if I hit Pillar, huh? So you see, I have a weak Aura that tracks it. I got 10 seconds left on... And dude, now I'm tracking runes. Like, I might not... Yeah, here we go. And now we're just spamming Change. Spamming Chains. Let's see how much this hit for. Alright, so... First, we hit for 14k with our Legendary. And we hit for 10k with our Talent. Neither of those crit. That's not a crit. That's 10k, 14k. That's 24k non-crit at the end of our Pillar from 1 global cooldown. And I see the strength of this talent. You're spending that global cooldown anyway. You might as well double the damage of it. But that's basically it. The rest of the fight, you're chilling on your runes. You're spending your rhyme procs. You're spending killing machine procs. You're trying to keep yourself underneath 3 runes available at a time. Underneath 2 if you're running Frozen Pulse. So you want to have fewer than 3 full runes. Means you want to have 2 runes available or less all the time. And you're playing around Gathering Storm. These are all things that we've been doing already. Breath is really the only change. And that's that. You can shred if you play this well. We pulled Garathi last night. A lot of the bosses we just weren't ready to kill. They're actually difficult, and a lot of us are checked out after clearing Mythic Antaurus how many times already? 25? I don't even know how many kills we have now on Argus. We weren't ready to play, but Garathi, I think my pull was 7k DPS on Garathi Worldbreaker, which is gigantic right now. So Frost is really strong for the next month. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a blast with it. Hope you guys do. Hope you guys do too. If you want to pop in the stream, ask me questions, you can find me at twitch.tv/undadtv. There, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have about Frost DK. Unholy and Blood, I'm still working out. Blood, I think I'm pretty comfortable with. I probably won't make a guide for those specs, but if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer about the other specs as well. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.